Jean, I am so thrilled to have you as our Talking Trends guest for September. Welcome along. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Chantal. I'm very excited about sharing some of my opinions with our wider health and wellness community.
I'm excited as well. And you are officially our first guest from New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Although Emma Barry may argue, she may say, well, I, was sitting in the States, but I was originally from there. But you are sitting, where are you sitting right now? Where are you doing the interview?
I'm in Christchurch, in a suburb of Redwood.
Beautiful. I absolutely love New Zealand. I wish I was seeing you this year, but I'm not going to see you guys this year.
Oh, you're not
I know, but I'll be thinking of you during FitX this year and during the New Zealand Exercise Industry Awards, which I've loved seeing you each year for the last couple of years. But we are here today to talk about some trends, and specifically we are going to narrow it down to 3 trends that we're going to discuss today. One is fitness programming, one is professional development, and the third one is retention. So get us started on fitness programming. What are your thoughts in regards to any trends or what we might see coming up in the area of fitness programming?
I'm looking at Christchurch, New Zealand at the moment, Chantal. There's a real move towards the health and wellness. Yoga is becoming a really big go-to for lots of people, not just people that want to stretch and relax, but people that just want to actually move a little bit better. So we're noticing there are lots of smaller type studios popping up all over the country and the city. And we're also noticing a real move towards the more boutique clubs and studios. So moving away from perhaps some of the bigger traditional clubs and moving towards those smaller boutique. F45 seems to be having a real big influx, and there seems to be everywhere you look there is one popping up. But not only the F45s, there are lots of other little gyms popping out, which in my opinion, I'm not sure that the cities and the towns can sustain all these little clubs that are happening. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens within the next 12 months with these different studios that have popped up around the city.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I think, in the US, we certainly saw that there is a huge number of boutique studios, especially in some of the major cities. And certainly we've had that in Australia. I wouldn't say that there's huge volumes of boutique studios in Australia, but we're seeing that emergence as well. And as you talk about F45, obviously very big in Australia and moving overseas as well. But in particular, what I think is interesting about that is how you're saying about like the yoga studios. And I know that last month we had Mo Hagan come onto the show, and she was talking about the fact that in Canada, for example, that whole wellness solution / active recovery movement, anything and everything that has to do with wellness and just stretch and everything in that category is really emerging as a new trend. So interesting to see that is also relevant in the New Zealand market as well.
Yeah, I think, Chantal, there is still something that's really missing within our entire industry, and I don't think it's just a New Zealand thing. I think this is potentially global. The health and wellness, as we know it, is not accessible to our wider communities, and I know that in New Zealand, our other nationalities, for a lot of these people, affordability is not there, accessibility for some of them is not there. There's high rates of diabetes. If our industry was more accessible to these people, we'd be reaching more people. And I see this as an area, personally, that we as health professionals, that if we can encourage more people, more children, to get involved in what we love and think is normal, then our society as a whole is going to be better off for it.
It's such an important message that you're talking about, Jean, and I love that emphasis on children and on community. And as a matter of fact, just last week we actually had John Naster from the UK on the show, and one of the big sections that we talked about was community-based initiatives. So what is it that we as fitness professionals are providing to those people that might not have access to a gym facility, that might not be able to afford a gym facility? What are we doing to help those people, as you've just mentioned. And we actually spoke about some different initiatives that are happening around the world where different gym providers, big box gyms, boutique studios, going over and above kind of just servicing their members and creating free boot camps for the local community, or events where kids can get active. And so if anyone missed that episode with John Naster, then go back and check it out. It was an intensive show, and that's a really great one to take a look at. And in particular, I'm going to ask our fabulous video editor, Diana, to do me a huge favor right now and put down below, down here, can you put Topiaorg? Now, Jean, you might have heard me talk about this before. It's my favorite reference to community-based initiatives. And for anyone that's watching right now, go and take a look at gymtopia.org, because on that website, it collates all of the community-based give-back initiatives that gym professionals, gym owners are doing all across the world. And there are countless stories on that website that not only you can go and take a look at and be inspired by and see what the great work is, but you can also go there and get ideas of what you could potentially do within your own community. So I'm really glad you brought up that piece about how can we look at the bigger picture beyond what we do with our clients and with our members. That's a great one. So that was number one. Let's go on to number two, which is professional development. Definitely my favorite of all of our topics. Tell us what your thoughts are in regards to professional development, any trends that you're seeing come through the industry, or any predictions that you have in that area.
You know, it really depends on the individual, and I'm going to use the word specialise, and I don't think you need to have a huge degree to say that you specialise. It's something that you are very passionate about. Professional development in New Zealand, we are extremely lucky. Each year we have FitX conference, and you know that the most amazing thing about this FitX conference, Chantal, as you know because you've been there, is we have lots of presenters from New Zealand, lots of national presenters, people that present year after year. It's a great opportunity for people to upskill and present for the first time themselves. But we also have lots of international presenters that come. And the great thing about FitX is it's Friday, we have the pre-conference conference, and you can get a taste of these different presenters and what it is that they're delivering that can enhance our industry. So you can go along to the different presenters, and we've got people that are doing movement, we've got people that are doing nutrition, we've got strength and conditioning. I know that this year there's a couple of topics on gender diversity. You can listen to people like Eno Dwyer, Thea Baker, and then you can decide, I really want to do a little bit more around the movement and the facial, or I want to do a little bit more around women's health and pelvic floor. Just because you're a personal trainer or a group fitness person doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot delve into yoga or strength and conditioning. And what that does is it just enhances your tools.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I do love how our industry conferences give us that catalogue or that library of different experiences. And I think the point that you make in regards to having a bit of a taste of what's out there and what we might like to pursue a little bit further, it's so relevant, because I think it can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes when we think about, you know, what is it that we want to niche down to, what do we want to specialize in. There are so many great options, but you're right in saying amazing conferences like FitX and Ursa and Filex and everything that we have available to us right around the world really give you that taster, that taste test, the test drive, if you will, and the opportunity to see what else is available and what else is out there, so then you can follow different paths as you like to. So thank you so much for telling us a bit about that, Jean. And also, I'm a huge fan of FitX. As you know, FitX in New Zealand, it's just a fantastic conference to be a part of. So we'll also put details of that down in our comments below. So let's move on to our third section, which is retention. So what are your thoughts around the area of retention in the fitness industry?
I think we touched on it, to look after communities. So we build communities within our communities, regardless of whether you're a big club, medium-sized club, or a small club. Humans crave human connection. You know, at the end of the day, when they've worked really, really hard and they've, you know, given everything they could on the day, they want a high five. They want a, oh man, you've done so well today. You know, as trainers, if we can be honest, because you still got to be honest every now and then. You know, you need to be a bit firm and a little bit harsh. It's our responsibility to empower our clients to follow the programming, regardless of what it is that they want to achieve, because each person is an individual and we need to treat each person as an individual. I can preset messages for my clients. So, you know, simple things like that can make a huge difference to your client. I have this thing in my club is that all my children come back home to mum, whether it's my clients or the people that I've worked with Group Fitness, and, you know, they all come home to mum. So, you know, I try and stay in touch with all my clients.
To me, Jean, the message that I got from that all comes back to that importance of getting back to basics and having that human to human connection. And I know that, you know, we do spend a lot of time talking about technology and all of the great advancements that we have available to us now in the industry. But at the end of the day, I think there's nothing that can replace that human to human connection that you just talked about, and that, you know, picking up a phone and hearing your trainer's voice is so important and means so much to our customers. And I have a question for you in regards to your message, your preset message. Do you preset that? Is that an SMS message or an email message that you preset?
It can either be an email or the text message.
Oh, the text message. Okay.
Yes, so I pre-schedule, and it took me a while to find it on my phone, but I pre-schedule them, and so every now and then if I've got time, I might sit down and pre-schedule all my birthdays for September and send them a message, just like I do with my birthday cards. So, and I do my birthday cards online, which is send out cards, and but I personalise them because in my spare time I do a little bit of painting. And so I take photos of my paintings and I put them on the cards, and then I write the message and everything myself in the card, but it comes from a company, and I pre-organise them to go out to my clients for their birthdays. Yeah, and so they get a really nice card, and if they want to, they can put the picture in a frame.
That's so beautiful, and very personalized, which I love. And just in case anyone is thinking it right now, because I'm thinking, I don't think my iPhone will let me pre-send messages or pre-schedule messages. But if anyone's watching this right now and you're thinking, Chantal, get with the times, of course you can pre-schedule messages on your iPhone, then let me know how. Just while we're on the subject of member retention and really making sure we've got that connection with our members. If anyone missed the episode, we just last week released an episode with Matthew Walrath, which was all about creating a VIP customer experience. And in that, Matthew basically talks about what are those things that we can do in order to make our clients feel unbelievably special, really connected with the business. And he's got some really great tips in that episode. So if you didn't catch that yet, I will pop the details just below, or ask wonderful Diana to pop the details below, please, Diana, and make sure that you go and check out that episode about creating a VIP customer experience. Now, Jean, to finish off with today, give us a little bit of an insight about what your next couple of months are going to look like. Where are you? Do you have any events? Are you speaking anywhere? Tell us about that.
Embarked on a yoga journey myself, and so I'm doing my 200 hours of yoga training, which I've just done my first segment. It's been enlightening, and it's definitely put me out of my comfort zone, but the great thing is it's also been very stimulating, scary and exciting at the same time. And I'm hosting the PT breakfast at the FitX conference this year, and it's pretty much around what I've talked about today, community and trying to reach more children and reach, you know, the wider areas of the community.
Jean, thank you, and I can definitely vouch for FitX as being a brilliant conference to be a part of. So all of our New Zealand viewers right now, make sure you check it out, and and join the team over there. So we'll put a link to the FitX website below. So Jean, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been such a pleasure chatting to you, hearing more about those community-based initiatives, which I completely agree. It's such an important part of what we do in the health and fitness industry, in an area that I'm sure that a lot of people will agree that we can continue to move forward and continue to incorporate more offerings to the wider community. I love that thought and that passion that you have behind that. So thank you for sharing that with us today. And thanks for joining us for Talking Trends.
Thank you for having me and asking me to do this.